Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Chris. My channel name is Crafting Chris. Today is Thursday, May 27th, 2021, and I have a lot of stuff to share with you today, so let's get started. May is winding down and my Stitch Mania is winding down with it. If you're unfamiliar with Stitch Mania, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll try and give you a quick overview if you're unfamiliar. It started back in 2015 by two Flosstubers that I'm aware of, Katie, the Stash Queen, and Garrett, the Coffee Stitcher. And their original design in 2015 was they were going to start 15 new projects, one every day on the first 15 days of May. Then each subsequent year, I believe the main model was that you would do as many starts as the year. So in 2016, you did 16, in 2017, you did 17, etc., etc. But over the years, a lot of people have come up with their own versions of Stitch Mania, and they are as varied as the Stitchers in this community. So I know some people do Monogamania, where they only work on one project for the whole month. I know some people like Stephanie over at Lindy Stitches, she does Stitch Sania, where she picks a focus project for the month, sets goals each week, and if she achieves the goal for the week, she rewards herself with a new start on the weekend. And for her, that's more manageable than starting 15, 16, 17, 21 new projects. Other people pick a theme, which is what I had done for this year. This is my first year participating in Stitch Mania, and I decided to do Merry Mania and work on my Christmas projects. I know I've known other people that have done like Mirabilia Mania or Mill Hill Mania, but I decided to do a Merry Mania and focus on my Christmas whips because I had quite a few of those. So let's start with some statistics. So this month I've worked on 4 whips. I know that sounds a little bit sad, and looking back on it, I'm a little bit sad because my goal was to try and get some progress on some of my Christmas whips. I had 5 new starts, which was not my goal, but that's how it worked out because I put a few new starts on my wheel as a little bit of an incentive or a reward. I did have 3 finishes, so that was great, and I have 1 FFO. So before we get into the stitching, or the Merry Mania stitching, I just want to show you my stitch along that I've been working on this year. It's the Mini Tree Hugger Sal by Carolyn Manning Designs, and this month's tree is this little guy here. That's the tree for the month of May. So that's 5 that we have so far. I assume June's will go here, and then the rest of the year will be on the top. So yeah, so still having fun with that. They're really quick little stitches. You can usually do them in a day or 2 depending on how much time you have. So yeah, so that was fun. So getting into the Merry Mania stitching, the first project that came up on my wheel was actually not a cross stitch project. It was a diamond art painting that I had mentioned in my last video that I was going to throw into the mix. It's one I purchased quite a few years ago. It's a Diamond Dots art painting kit that I got through Michael's, and I did look. It doesn't look like it's currently available anymore, so I'm sorry about that if anybody is interested in it. But it is called Holiday Road. And there it is. So yeah, it was really fun to do. Didn't take too long. I'm a little bit obsessive about things like this, so once I started, I kind of wanted to finish it. But I worked on it for the 2 days, May 1st and 2nd, and was able to complete it. So yeah, very sparkly, very fun. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research or consult with my friend Gail in Australia. She does a lot of diamond art painting, and find out the how you go about framing these, because I would like to have it framed and hang it up at Christmas time because I think it's quite festive. So that was my first project that I worked on. My second one that came up in the wheel was the Cotton and Twine November 2019 subscription box. I worked on this project for 1.5 days approximately. It's stitched on this dotted Zweigart Ada. I forget what it's called. It's a great Ada. So this was one of my finishes, one of my 3 finishes. So the Holiday Road Diamond Art painting was my first finish, my first project, my first finish, and this was my second project and my second finish. I didn't have much left to do on this, as you'll see in the before picture. But so that is done. The kit does come with all of the finishing materials, so it comes like with the batting to use and some double-sided sticky tape and some felt and the mat board and all the instructions, but they kind of make it as a little wall hanging. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or if I'm going to put it in a frame. I still have to decide that yet, so that is to be decided. My third project that I worked on was another new start, and again, these were just random spins on the wheel. I just did what the wheel told me to do, and it was Santa's truck by Dimensions. This is a new stocking kit that I purchased. I'm going to make this for my husband. I had started another stocking that I'll show you in a bit for him, but I've decided it fits my daughter's personality better, and he is a big automobile person, had quite a number of vehicles over his adult life and a number of trucks, so I thought this suited him a little bit better. So I worked on this for 4 days. It's just on a 14 count ivory Ada that came in the kit with all of the kit threads. So that's what I have so far. The presents on the top of the truck and that little band. I haven't put the name or anything on yet. The fourth one that I worked on, it was then Mother's Day or Mother's Day weekend, and I decided to treat myself to a Mother's Day start and step away from Christmas stitching for a couple of days. So I pulled out a Luca-esque kit that I had purchased for myself for my birthday month, because if you watch one of my older videos, I'm going to do a stitch along during my birthday month called Stitch All the Horses. So I had purchased this kit in anticipation of that because I am a horse lover. And this is what really called to me to start that weekend for Mother's Day, to celebrate being a mom and having 2 wonderful daughters and all that fun stuff. So this is also stitched obviously on the kit Ada, which is a beautiful cream Zweigart Ada that I was surprised. I didn't know it actually was gridded. So that was kind of fun. So this was really nice to stitch on. It's done with anchor thread, so the fabric is nice, the threads are nice, the pattern is fun. It's not too complicated, but it's interesting enough. It's not boring. It's really fun because when you're stitching it, the colors seem random, but then when you step back and look at it, you can sort of start to see, you know, like that frame around the window. That's the window of the barn. I started up in that top left corner. And then just the wall of the stable is sort of where I'm at. So as you can see, I actually used a hoop for the first time. I usually stitch in hand, but this is a fairly large piece of Ada, and it's a bit stiff. It's not as bad as the Santa's truck Ada. And so I just decided I would try stitching with a hoop, which I actually enjoyed it. It did make it a little easier to handle all the fabric. And I guess it was nice having that even tension, although because I've stitched in hand for so long, or I've always stitched in hand, I think I do okay with my tension, but and so yeah, I quite liked it, but I did find my left arm got a little bit tired trying to hold the hoop, and so I decided to maybe invest in a hoop stand, which I'll show you a little bit in haul. But then when I finished with this after the 3 days, I did leave the hoop on for the 3 days, so I don't know if that was a no-no. So anybody that is a hoop stitcher that has some advice for me as a new hoop stitcher, I would love it if you would leave it down below, because I did like it, but I have ironed this piece I don't know how many times, and those hoop marks are not coming out, and I'm using a really good steam iron to do that. I've got a nice fluffy towel underneath it, so I'm not sure why those hoop marks aren't coming out, and that makes me sad, because if that is that going to be an issue for me? It must not be. People use hoops all the time. So yeah, if anybody has any advice about stitching with hoops, how to deal with your fabric before or after using a hoop, I would certainly appreciate any and all advice that you might have for that. And anybody that's got advice for getting these out. This piece, it shouldn't matter. It's going to be full coverage, so any hoop marks will be gone. But I was thinking about using it for that Santa's truck pattern as well. And it does have open Aida that doesn't have any stitching on it. And I'm afraid if I do that, are those marks going to end up on there? Am I going to have to wash my pieces when I'm done to get rid of those hoop marks? I don't usually do that, but I guess if that's what I have to do, then that's what I have to do. But anyway, so that was my weekend, my Mother's Day weekend here in Canada start. It's called Hunter and Foxhound, and it's by Luca S. My next project that I worked on was my Christmas stocking, another horse project. This is an old Dimensions kit. Again, not available anymore. Not sure if you can even find it anywhere on the internet. It's done on the 14 count Aida that came in the kit. It is beautiful Aida. I'm not sure if it says who it's by, but it's incredibly soft. It's the softest Aida I've ever stitched with in my life. It's like stitching on linen, to be honest. So yeah, so this is stitched on the 14 count Aida that came in the kit with the kit flosses. And here's where I'm at. I'm getting closer. I just have the rest. That's basically all Santa's coat down there into the heel. It's got a long, beautiful red coat with white fur trim on it. And then once I get that all done, then I have all the back stitching, and I know there's some cording you have to make with some gold thread to make like the reins for the horse. And I'm a little bit intimidated, but I'm just taking it one step at a time. So one little bite at a time. So I was really happy with the progress I made on that, and I'm loving that. I can't wait to get it finished. It's gonna be gorgeous. So, and that I worked on for 4 days. So then I did another spin. I got another new start, and it was the Madame Chantilly's Celebrate Christmas tiered tray. These are so cute. I love this series. I do plan to eventually collect them all, but this is the only one I have right now. And I'm stitching this on a 32 count platinum linen with the called for DMCs. So I was a little bit surprised when I started, well, I guess when I pulled the threads, but when I started stitching too, mine seems quite a bit darker. And again, I know this is a thing, but it's like you can see how much darker the greens are, and like the thread is actually the burgundy, but it looks red in the picture. So again, I know it's the differences between the photograph and the actual stitched model, but I really like the colors in this. So I'm trying to decide, do I just push through? I think it'll all come together in the end because she's an incredible designer and I trust the designers, but I really like this look. But anyway, it was really fun to stitch on. I love the images, and it's nice blocks of color, so it's not too much of a strain when you're stitching it. So I worked on that for 3 days, and then I spun the wheel, and sorry I'm looking down, I have all my notes because I'll never remember. I spun the wheel and got another new start, which was a Mill Hill kit that I had in my stash for quite a while that I thought it would be fun to maybe finally get out and stitch it. So it's one of these little Mill Hill sleighs. This one's called the Woodland Sleigh. So this was my third new start. No, sorry, I had 5 new starts. I have lost track. So I If anybody's counting, you'll know where we're at. So this was another new start that I did. And obviously it's a kit, so I did it with everything in the kit. And there it is, with those little bunnies. All the beads. I decided to try and finish it with some felt, and then I kind of did a blanket stitch around the edge to hold the felt on. So I've stitched one more of these sleighs. I forget the name of this one. But this is it here. There's the two of them. Anyway, those are really fun. This one's quite beautiful. Again, it's hard to see the beads on camera, but I don't know if you can see that. Like the whole body of the sleigh has those crisscrosses of those matte red beads. It's quite pretty. This one has probably just as many beads. Sometimes it's harder to see. Obviously you can see all the white ones and the green ones in the tree, but there are some matte brown ones all along the edge of the sleigh and some black ones down here. So that was fun, a quick stitch. Again, I worked on that I think in 2 days, and I started it and finished it, so that didn't take too long. So then I spun the wheel and came up with my other Christmas stocking. So this is the North Wind stocking. This was the one that I had started for my husband, but as I say, it fits my youngest daughter's personality better. And there's a long story with my Christmas stockings in my family, but I won't go into that today. If you're curious, ask me down below. What's the story? So yeah, so my youngest daughter is an animal lover. I've been looking for, you know, this sort of style of stocking with animals, and they're just hard to find these days. At least I haven't found them. You know, there's a lot of cutesy ones with animals, but anyway, so when I saw the truck one, I thought that would fit Bev, my husband, better. So I'm going to do this one for my daughter. So part of what I did this time was I took my husband's name off. His name is Bev, so it was very short and small, and this alphabet for this is mostly back stitching. There's only a few actual cross stitches. So I just took those out and filled them in with the color that was around them, and then I'm going to just stitch Claudia's name on top of that blue at the top. So this, I think this is going to be gorgeous when it's done. I think when you can only see parts of it, it maybe doesn't come together, because there is a lot more of that red that's in his hat down at the bottom, and there's a really, and his gloves are kind of that burgundy, or not burgundy, sorry, that turquoisey blue, and there's more of that in his coat down below. And even with the back stitching, like his face looks so much better once it's back stitched, kind of thing. The only back stitching I've done is I did that owl, you know, quite a number of years ago, because this is my oldest whip, and it was mostly half stitches and open space, and I needed to back stitch it to kind of see what it was going to look like, kind of thing, because it looks so weird not back stitched. So anyway, so that is North Wind stocking, coming along. It's beautiful. As I say, there you can see the other reds and the other turquoises, but it is taxing to stitch on, because there is so many half stitches, and I find it so hard to count and move from place to place. And yeah, there's areas that aren't stitched that you're trying to avoid carrying any threads through those open spaces, but there might only be 2 stitches here and 2 stitches over here and 2 stitches up here, and so it requires, I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch any Flosstube or any Netflix or anything while I was stitching on that, because it was just so easy. You know, if I just looked up for, 30 seconds, a minute to catch something on a show and look down, I'd forget where I was going or what I was doing, kind of thing. So, but again, it's going to be worth it, because I think it's going to be gorgeous when it's done. The last thing that I've stitched on this month is a pattern that I got through the Silk Stitching app. If you haven't heard about them yet, it's an app you can get. The app is free. Within the app, there are some incredible designers, and they sell their patterns through the app. And the app works very similar, at least in my understanding, to Pattern Keeper, but it is for Apple products. So I don't believe if you have an Android, you can download the app. But they do have a few free charts on there within the app, and one of the ones that I had downloaded was the Christmas Stitch Along 2020, I believe it's called Shooting Stars. So I'll insert a picture of what it's going to look like when it's done. Here's where I am right now. And yes, that orange is one of the called for color. Well, orange is a called for color. The one, I believe the original was probably stitched in silks, but they give you the DMC conversion. That orange color that they suggest in the DMC conversion was brighter than the orange I picked. I wanted something that's a little more kind of a burnt orange or rusty orange to go with the burgundies and reds of the pattern and the pinks. Again, maybe it looks a little strange for this color combination, but this is a repeated pattern. It's 4 by 4 squares and those pink swirls, and then the stars are scattered across it. So again, I think once it all comes together, it might make more sense than this little snapshot of where I'm at right now. But again, this is a nice relaxing stitch after working on Northwind stocking. It was kind of a nice break for my brain just to do these solid blocks of color. Even though it is on black Aida, that's not too bad to stitch on. But yeah, so that is the end of my stitching for the month. I feel really good because I've touched everything except for one of my Christmas whips, and that's Christmas Village. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of people really like that particular pattern, and I'm sorry I didn't get to it before this video. That's what I'm going to work on for the rest of the month, so you will see it in my next video. And that's my last Christmas whip, so that's good. I was able to touch everything, and I actually was able to start all the new starts that I put in my wheel too. Lucky me, yay! And yay, more whips to put in my whip rotation. So, but yeah, so that was my stitching for the month of May. It was a lot of fun. I have to admit, I'm getting a little Christmased out. After working on all those Christmas ones, I kept feeling some of my other projects calling to me. So it might be fun now to step away from the Christmas for a little bit. But so yeah, I'm going to go on with a few more of my segments here. The next one that I want to show you is a future start. So as I mentioned, in the month of July, I'm going to do a stitch along to celebrate my birthday, and it's going to be #StitchAllTheHorses. I have a number of whips already that have horses in them, so those will be included in that. It's going to be a similar format to what I did in the month of May. And then I do have a couple of more horse patterns that I'm going to start then, but I'll show you more about that next month. But my future start is one of the ones that I have purchased to start in the month of July. The name of the pattern, it's a pattern from Artisy. It's a full coverage, and it's called Spray Paint. So I'll insert a picture of it here so you can see what it looks like when it's finished. So I've pulled all of the flosses. Lots of greens and browns. I'm just going to stitch this on an Aida. I decided to dye this Aida. It was white, and I've dyed it a green because there is a lot of green and dark colors in the background. I just thought that way I won't have the bright white showing through. So I just dyed that with some dry dye, a Kelly green color, I think. So I think that'll work well. I've even put my first stitch in. I wanted to make sure because it's a fairly large piece. I have chosen to do it on a 14 count Aida, but I think because of dyeing it, it's probably going to be closer to a 16 count. So it might not be quite as large, but this was the largest piece that I had to use, so it's going to be a little bit tight towards the edges, but that's the very top corner. So, but I think that should work good. And I'm really looking forward to starting that. I've always liked pictures of horses running through water, but I've never been a huge fan of the classic ocean ones. A lot of them are too, they're not me. But I love this one, these horses running more through a river, in the forest. I love paints. And I love the coloring of that sort of focus horse in the center of the artwork. So I think it's going to be beautiful. I'm really excited to start it. So that is my future start. I did have a little bit of haul I thought I would show you. I don't always show haul in my videos, sometimes because the stuff I buy is specifically for a certain project, and I figure it's easier to show it when I show you the project as a new start or as a future start, rather than showing it to you as haul and then showing it to you again as a future start. But I did buy some fabric, just to buy some fabric. I bought it from a Canadian dyer. Her name is Rolanda. So hand dyed by Rolanda. You've probably seen a lot of her stuff if you watch any other Canadian stitchers. A lot of people like to buy her fabric. And I've admired it for a while, and it is sometimes hard to get pieces. So when I saw she had some new stock in her shop, I decided to buy some. So the first one that I bought is called Bracken. Now I have to admit, again, monitors and online photos, to me in the photograph, this looked gray with little hints of rusty orange. But when I see it in real life, and I can't tell if this is showing it very well, it looks more green with more of a peachy color. So it wasn't quite what I was thinking it was going to be, but it's still a beautiful, beautiful piece of linen, and I know someday I'll find something that I can stitch on it. So the other one is very, very pretty. It is called Acorn, yes. And these are both 32 count linen that I got. So this is Acorn. How pretty is that? Actually, that probably works better for seeing the color that way. Now again, these are a little bit more modeled than I'm used to using, but it's so beautiful. I know someday I will find something that I would love to stitch on that. See if I hold this one this way, does it show? Yeah, that does show the color better going that way. So yeah, does that not read more as green than gray? But still beautiful. So that was one purchase that I made. And then the other purchase I mentioned before was that I had purchased a hoop stand. So I did a little bit of research and I decided to buy, I'll show you the name, the Nerge hoop stand. Nerge makes hoops, so it obviously works with their hoops, but it works with any hoop. So here is where you would put your hoop in, and it can be a table stand, so you can set it on the table in front of you. And it's really easy to adjust. You just tighten these knobs as you need to. So you could stitch with it on a table in front of you, or you can also use it if you're sitting in a chair and you just put these underneath your legs and kind of straddle that sort of thing, and then it's directly in front of you when you're stitching. So I haven't tried it yet. I will give you my verdict once I do try it. I haven't done a lot of hoop stitching because I have always stitched in hand, other than that one that I started, the Foxhound, the Hunter and the Foxhound. And I don't want to start using hoops on projects I've been stitching in hand because I do worry it'll change the tension. So as I start new things, I'm going to try using a hoop and using a hoop stand, because then maybe I can start doing some two-handed stitching, which would maybe speed some of my stitching up, which when we've got so many things we want to stitch, you know, yay to stitching a little bit faster. So again, anybody that is a hoop stitcher that has words of wisdom for me, I would love them. I would like to maybe start stitching with hoops but the hoop marks do kind of bother me a little bit. So that's my haul. So as far as plans go, so the month of June, I am going to kind of go back to my other format. At least I think I am, where I pick 2 focus projects that I work, I split the week and work on the 2 of them during the week. And then on the weekend, I do a random spin and just work on a random whip that's in my rotation. But I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to see what the wheel brings up, because if they're projects that I'm not feeling it, if they're, some of these Christmas ones that I've worked on so much this month, I may just forego that, and I might just work on what calls to me for the month of June. Because in July, again, that's my birthday month, and I'm doing a similar format with all of my horse patterns that I have. So I might take the month of June just to stitch what I want when I want, to give myself a little bit of break between, it's unfortunate that May and July came so close together, but I'm still looking forward to doing it again in July with all the horse stuff that I have. So yeah, so that's kind of my plans. I'm being a little bit loose with the plans, and I guess you'll find out next month what I ended up deciding to do. So as far as the stitching goes, that's everything I have to share. Again, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you have any advice, please leave a comment down below. The only other things I'm going to talk about are a sneak peek into my Etsy shop and my craft from the past. So if you're just here for the stitching, then that's great. If you want to head out, I know there's lots of stuff to watch out there, and I will see you next time. If you're interested in those things, then stick around and I'll show you some more fun stuff. So in the theme of Christmas, since that's what I was doing in the month of May, I thought it might be fun to show you some of the Christmas fabrics I have on hand to make some bags for my shop, which I'm going to do probably, I don't know, maybe in July, August, September, somewhere in there. I'm going to start making some Christmas bags and putting them up in the shop. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this fat quarter bundle. So anybody that knows about fabric knows you can buy fabric in fat quarters, just like you can buy linen. And a lot of design or a lot of companies will sell you a bundle with all the fabrics in that particular line. So this one, I believe, is called, I forget the name of it. Oh, We Whisk You a Merry Christmas. So it's kind of all like cooking themed, but it is so pretty. So, I don't want to take it apart because I love having it in this little stack on my shelf where I can see it, but you can see all the different colors. There's like gingerbread man, there's ones with words on them, there's these tartan plaids, and then you get them in the different color families, the grays, the blacks, the whites, the reds, the greens, and then there's even these browns, which I love browns, that's me. So I just love those colors. So I'm really looking forward to making some fun stuff with that. My friend Nicole, Buckeye Stitcher, hi Nicole, so graciously at Christmas time sent me some fabrics, which was a wonderful gift for somebody that sews and likes to sew. So one of the really fun fabrics she sent me was this one. I just love it. She actually sent me a bag made out of the same fabric, which I love. So I purchased this fabric to use with it because I usually like to have a coordinating fabric, but obviously any red or green would work with this as well. But this is one of the ones I have on hand that I'm thinking I might use with this one to make some bags. Another really pretty one that I purchased was this toile. I think that's how you say that. Is that right, Marissa? Am I saying it right? And then I got this plaid to go with it, so I thought that was gorgeous. And then who doesn't love a cardinal? Look at these fun cardinals. They remind me a little bit of, is it Charlie Harper, Nicole? Is that whose art you like? Pam and stuff like? So I got like another plaid to go with that, or again, any green, or even that sparkly. This sparkly one would go with this as well because it's got the turquoise in it. The other one that Nicole sent me was this beautiful Riley Blake Santa, Mrs. Santa. And I got this Riley Blake red with the Christmas trees to go with it. But again, any of those, this one would go with it. So it's really easy to match them up with other fabrics. So those are some of the Christmas fabrics. So keep an eye out. There's going to be some bags coming up in the next few months made out of those fabrics. But I couldn't go without showing you, I currently just made some fabrics out of some beautiful patriotic fabric, so red, white, and blue. I did do one bag in red and white for my Canadian cousins, my fellow Canadian stitchers, because I didn't want you to be left out. So for Canada Day, this is my red and white bag. Or it would work for a red and white sampler if you're a sampler stitcher and you've got a red and white sampler and you want a home for it. This is a vinyl front bag, you can see there, the vinyl, with some pieced squares inside that I quilted. And then I did a similar vinyl front in the red, white, and blue. And then my latest obsession, I just love doing this pieced quilting. So there's a bunch of those different fabrics. I even quilted the back. That's the first time I've done that. Got myself a fabric marking pen so I could do that. So these are all fussy cuts so that that medallion lays right in the center. So this one is another one. That was a little bit time consuming to cut those. So a lot of work goes into these pieced bags. By the time you cut all the squares and you sew them all together, and then you sew the rows of squares together, and then you quilt them, and then you start making the bags. So. And then I still had a bunch of little pieces left over, so I also made, these are my fun little zipper pouches I'm making kind of as notion pouches now. The zipper on them, I put a little pull on it. That's the lining fabric. So they're nice and flat, so they would fit in a project bag quite nicely if you were taking a project with you somewhere. Just put your flosses and your scissors and everything in there, your fabric. And then with the littlest bits, I made some coasters. So yeah. So that's a sneak peek into my Etsy shop. I'll put a link down below if you're curious and you want to check it out, but no obligation. It's just something fun I like to do. So the last thing I usually do is a craft from the past. And again, in the theme of Christmas, I thought I would show you a Christmas dress that I actually sewed for my daughter. She probably was like 3-ish, somewhere around there. It's probably, I haven't sewn a lot of clothing over the years. I remember I made a skirt when I was maybe in high school, but I don't even remember wearing it. I've made a couple of Halloween costumes, but this is the first article of clothing that I ever made. And again, this was from the 1990s, so the style's a little outdated, but you'll get the idea anyway. So here it is. It's got like a velvet collar, sort of 3/4 length sleeve, a little bit of elastic in it. And then it's got like the gathered waist, and there's ties to do up at the back. And then I was so proud of myself, it even has covered velvet buttons that I made. I didn't know that was something you could do, so. Oh, this one. Not sure where that one went. Anyway, I've kept this in a box downstairs with some other clothes from my kids from when they were little. I believe both of my daughters probably wore it because I made it for my first daughter. And yeah, it was a lot of work and I was pretty proud of it. It's far from perfect. There's a lot of irregularities in it, but it was cute and it was Christmassy and they wore it to little Christmas concerts at church or whatever. So it's a fun memory for me to have. So that is it. That's everything I have to share today. Thank you for stopping by to visit with me and allow me to share some of the stuff I've been working on. As I say, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. But until next time, see ya. Bye.